Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just dive right in, shall we? When you see those iconic golden arches, you probably just think of hamburgers, fries, and drive-thrus. But what if I told you that the true story of McDonald's isn't just some simple burger business? It's actually this cinematic, sprawling tale of unmatched business genius, a completely revolutionary real estate strategy, ruthless corporate betrayal, and, believe it or not, infiltration by the Italian mob. Today, we're mapping out the secret empire of McDonald's and looking at exactly how a small local drive-in transformed into an absolute global behemoth.
But to really understand this story, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer, staggering scale of the company today. I mean, McDonald's has sold well over 300 billion hamburgers. They operate over 40,000 restaurants spread across 120 different countries. They are a deeply, deeply embedded part of global culture. But this massive, world-dominating empire had to start somewhere. And the origin story? Well, it doesn't begin in a fancy corporate boardroom. It begins with two brothers in a sunny California parking lot.
Section 1. The Speedy Service System, Reinventing Fast Food. So, let's meet Richard and Maurice McDonald. Originally, these two brothers had moved from New Hampshire to California with big dreams of working in the movie business. But when the rundown movie theater failed during the Great Depression, they pivoted. They opened a chaotic barbecue drive-in restaurant. Now, it was profitable for sure, but it absolutely drove them crazy. It was stressful, incredibly hectic, and constantly filled with loitering teenagers. So what did they do? They completely deconstructed the restaurant model. First, they realized that 80% of their revenue came from just a few items, so they slashed their menu down to the absolute bare essentials: burgers, fries, and shakes. Next, they got rid of the car hop waitresses completely. Customers would now just walk up and order directly at the window. Finally, and this is the best part, they famously went out to an empty tennis court, drew chalk outlines of their kitchen, and timed their employees to create a perfect single-task assembly line. They essentially took Henry Ford's factory efficiency and brought it into the fast food kitchen, pumping out high-quality food in just 15 seconds. They called it the Speedy Service System, and it was an absolute smash hit.
Section 2. Enter the multi-mixer salesman.
Word of this hyper-efficient burger joint naturally began to spread, and it eventually reached the ears of a 52-year-old struggling milkshake machine salesman named Ray Kroc. Ray was really hustling to make a living, selling this machine called the multi-mixer, which could make 5 shakes at once. Business was definitely tough. But then, he noticed a tiny restaurant in San Bernardino, California had ordered a grand total of 8 of his multi-mixers. Ray traveled out to California and was absolutely mesmerized by what he saw. He ended up pitching himself as their national franchising agent, but the initial deal he struck, it was incredibly frustrating. Franchisees would pay a 1.9% revenue fee. Out of that, the McDonald brothers took 0.5% as a royalty, which left Ray with just 1.4%. So the crucial point here is this: Ray was pouring 80-hour weeks into driving across the country, building restaurants, ensuring perfect quality control, and essentially doing all the grueling expansion legwork, yet he was barely making any money to keep his own company afloat. He desperately needed a pivot.
Section 3. The real estate pivot, a strategic shift.
This brings us to a pivotal, literally mind-blowing moment in business history. Ray brought on a financial wizard named Harry Sonborn, who took one look at the failing franchise numbers and realized they were in the completely wrong business. They shouldn't just be selling hamburgers, they needed to shift McDonald's from a food service company into a real estate empire. His brilliant solution was to create a totally separate company called Franchise Realty Corporation. This new entity would go out, buy, or lease the land beneath every single new McDonald's restaurant and then lease it right back to the store operators. Suddenly, Ray Kroc wasn't just collecting a measly 1.4% service fee anymore. No, he was collecting a flat base rent or an 8.5% lease fee, whichever was higher. This meant Ray finally gained absolute control over his operators. If they didn't keep the bathrooms clean or the burgers up to standard, Ray could just evict them from the land. The big takeaway here: sometimes the product you sell isn't where the real power lies.
Let's compare this to the industry standard at the time, just to put it in perspective. Traditional franchisors made their money by rapidly selling incredibly overpriced kitchen supplies and ingredients to their franchisees. They were basically bleeding them dry by turning the operators into captive customers. But the Kroc system? It was totally different. By profiting from real estate leases and a percentage of revenue, Ray completely aligned his financial interests with his franchisees' success. He wasn't making his money by squeezing them on supplies. He only made more money if they actually sold more burgers. This shared success model made a lot of franchisees incredibly wealthy, and it caused the company's growth to absolutely explode.
Section 4. The ultimate betrayal. Cutting out the founders.
Now, despite all this massive success, there was a huge storm brewing. Ray was this aggressive, fast-moving visionary, and he was completely exhausted and tired of having to legally ask the McDonald brothers for written permission every single time he wanted to make a minor operational change. The tension grew so toxic that he finally decided he just had to cut them out of the picture entirely. He asked them to name their price for a total buyout. The brothers came back with a massive number for the time, $2.7 million in cash. Ray agreed, and he took on enormous debt to fund it. The terms stated the brothers got their cash, and they were allowed to keep their original beloved San Bernardino store, provided they took the McDonald's name off the building. So they renamed it the Big M. But here's where the controversy really lies. Richard McDonald claimed that Ray also promised them a 0.5% royalty on all future company revenues, sealed only with a handshake to avoid insurance complications, a royalty that, allegedly, Ray never paid.
And Ray's resentment? Oh, it definitely didn't end with the buyout. After 7 years of fighting with the brothers over contracts and changes, his hatred was palpable. Upon signing the final papers, Ray turned to an employee and said, "I'm normally not a vindictive man, but this time I'm gonna get those sons of bitches." In an act of pure ruthlessness, Ray immediately opened a brand new McDonald's location exactly 1 block away from the brothers' newly renamed Big M restaurant. He intentionally ran the very men who invented his system completely out of business.
This kind of pettiness actually built into the ultimate rewriting of history. Having secured the legal rights to the name and the entire system, Ray Kroc consolidated everything into the McDonald's Corporation, and then he officially named himself the founder of McDonald's. He even went as far as advertising his first franchise store in Illinois as McDonald's #1, actively erasing Richard and Maurice and their original California store from the corporate history books for decades.
Section 5. Global Scandals and Controversies.
So, with the brothers out of the picture and Ray's protege Fred Turner taking the CEO reins, McDonald's scaled at a staggering pace. They were expanding all over the globe, but managing an unchecked global conglomerate brings entirely new and dangerous challenges. Because of its massive size and deep pockets, the company soon found itself right in the middle of some unprecedented, frankly shocking scandals. Take the famous McDonald's Monopoly game, for instance, a fun, innocent promotion that turned out to be entirely rigged. A third-party security chief named Jerome Jacobson realized that, due to a mailing error, he was receiving the game's tamper-proof seals directly to his home address. His procedural scam was remarkably simple, yet devastating. While escorting the winning tickets, he would step into the bathroom, completely out of sight of his chaperone. He'd break the seal, swap the million-dollar tickets for cheap ones, and then reseal the envelope with his stash of fresh seals. He eventually partnered with a mobster named Jerry Colombo, funneling the highest-value winning tickets directly to the Italian mafia. Yes, you heard that right. Mobsters were getting rich off fast food game pieces.
Get this, the scam ran for 13 years. It finally came crashing down when an FBI wiretap, culminating in an investigation aptly named Operation Final Answer, caught the scammers bragging on the phone. The financial fallout for McDonald's was absolutely staggering. They had inadvertently paid out $24 million to illegitimate mafia-connected winners. To save face with the public, they gave another $25 million to random customers and paid out $16.6 million in legal settlements. The whole scam cost the company over $65 million, really exposing the severe vulnerabilities that come with that massive scale.
But hey, financial fraud wasn't their only major hurdle. In 2004, the brand faced a massive public relations and health reckoning with the release of Morgan Spurlock's documentary, Super Size Me. Now, Spurlock ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days, exposing severe potential health consequences, including extreme weight gain and skyrocketing blood pressure. The documentary caused a massive shift in public perception. Just 6 weeks after it aired, McDonald's actually eliminated the supersize option from their menus entirely and launched campaigns promoting healthier eating and exercise.
The sources show how this ties into a much larger, very complex conversation about public health. Back in the 1960s, when McDonald's was just starting to blanket the country, the U.S. obesity rate was around 13%. Today, it sits at over 40%. Now, we have to impartially note that obesity is influenced by a wide array of factors, and ultimately individual consumers choose what they put into their own bodies. Fast food is really just one piece of a very large puzzle. However, as the pioneer and undisputed king of the fast food industry, McDonald's inevitably finds itself right at the very center of this global health conversation.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer and leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. Today, McDonald's is a $200 billion juggernaut, and every year, the corporation celebrates Founders Day to honor Ray Kroc. But as we've explored today, the truth is much, much more complicated. So I leave you with this to think about. Who do you believe is the true founder of McDonald's? Do we give the credit to Richard and Maurice McDonald, the brothers who actually invented the revolutionary speedy service system? Or does the title belong to Ray Kroc, the ruthless, unrelenting visionary who took that system and built it into an unstoppable global empire? Thanks for watching, and keep learning.